Welcome to Etown Everywhere podcast. I'm Nellie, your co-host. This is episode 22 of Etown Everywhere, a podcast featuring fun facts and friends from around the world. The show is brought to you by Elizabethtown College's Office of International Student Services.
Hello everyone, I'm your co-host Luke, and each week we will be taking you on an adventure around the world. This week's featured country is the Bahamas.
Taking a swim across the big pond to our featured country, here are some fast, fun, fantastic facts about the Bahamas. The name Bahamas is either derived from the Taino-Indian name Bahama, meaning large upper middle land, or from the Spanish phrase baja mar, meaning shallow water. The Bahamas is one of the only two countries whose official name begins with the word the. The Gambia is the other. The Bahamas is one of about 700 islands, atolls, and keys in the western Atlantic Ocean, of which only 30 are inhabited. The popular James Bond movie, Thunderball, was partly filmed in Nassau, where many of the story is set. The national sport of the Bahamas is sloop sailing. The Bahamas has the world's third largest barrier reef. 5% of the world's coral can be found in the water of the Bahamas.
Hearing about all those fantastic fast facts makes me want to move to the Bahamas, but before I do, I would like to know what kind of climate and weather to expect. The weather is what you would quickly be able to get used to. The trade winds have blessed the Bahamas with warm year-round weather, with winter lows averaging a comfortable 70 degrees Fahrenheit and summer highs with high humidity around 80 to 90%. With a gentle dip at night of just 5 to 7 degrees. The result? A climate where you can have fun any time of day, any season.
Now let's hear from someone who's traveled to the Bahamas and make ourselves more worldly people. My co-host Luke has traveled to the Bahamas twice. So hi Luke, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So my first question is, what is one thing the Bahamas is best known for?
I feel like the Bahamas is best known as like a vacation spot, and the beaches are beautiful and the water's beautiful when it's warm. And it's really close to the US. It's actually closer to the US, like the mainland US, than Hawaii is to the mainland US. So it's nice and close.
Oh, that's nice. So what is one misconception about the Bahamas?
I think it's along those same lines. People think it's, this wonderful paradise, and it is in some regards, but, there's a lot of poverty, and it's really sad once you get, away from the resorts and things and see the poverty. But I think that happens in every country, but unfortunately, I think people are blind to that since it's such a big vacation spot. Yeah,
that reminds me of, when you were saying resorts, like Mexico, like Cancun. People go to Cancun. People don't go to, other rural areas, but that's interesting. So where in the Bahamas did you visit?
So I went to Grand Bahama Island, which is the largest island in the Bahamas, and I visited the city of Freeport and then the surrounding areas and beaches and things around there.
How old were you when you went to the Bahamas? The first and second time?
4 years ago. I went twice in 1 year. I went in March and July. I much preferred in March. The weather, it was so hot and humid in July. It was very nice. Got cool in the evenings and stuff in March. Okay,
nice. And did the Bahamas live up to your expectations?
I think definitely. I took so many pictures when I was there. I actually stayed with someone who I knew there and lived there, so they took me to some beaches that weren't so commercial, that were more natural, and I'm not there to sunbathe or anything. I like walking up and down the beaches and taking pictures, so being able to see the more natural beaches, that was just beautiful.
That's great. So tell me, what are some laws you found strange in the Bahamas?
I don't, just because I visited for such a short time, I don't know really laws, but, I do know that one thing that was kind of strange is that people drive really fast. If you think they drive fast in the US, it's crazy, so. And it was interesting because they drive on the left side of the road instead of the right.
Okay, that's cool. So what are some similarities and differences between the US and the Bahamas?
So when I was there in July, I was there over the 4th of July, and I thought it was very ironic and interesting that they celebrated the 4th of July in Freeport and they had fireworks and everything. I mean, it's obviously for the tourists, but I feel like it's sad because I feel like other countries have to Americanize.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to have them, I would love to go on, Bahamas Independence Day or something and see their celebration of some kind of holiday or something.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we can all read on the internet about the Bahamas, but it probably won't be completely accurate. So could you tell us how you would describe the Bahamas?
Yeah, it's definitely so beautiful and serene, and like I said earlier, the most beautiful part I think are the beaches where they're natural and there's driftwood and stuff and rocks. We went to a couple rocky beaches and the one had these long bars of rocks because the waves sort of eroded it, and I just thought it was beautiful. So it's definitely a beautiful place to visit, but unfortunately I feel like people aren't aware of the extreme poverty that is in the Bahamas.
And what do you miss the most about the Bahamas?
Oh, I love hearing the ocean and the ocean breeze. I just think that's wonderful. That's one thing I wish you could just put in a bottle and take with you.
Beach.
If you, whenever you go to a lake or something, you don't have that breeze and stuff. It's just really nice to have that.
Okay. And do you have any fun stories related specifically to the culture in the Bahamas?
Okay, so the second time I went, I always get really tired whenever I travel, and the plane ride is like 2.5 hours maybe, but it was a 2-hour drive to the airport and stuff and waiting around, so I was pretty tired when I got there. And then our welcoming group was there because the second time I went with a big group, and we were all introducing ourselves, and I had been there and met most of these people, and I was shaking everyone's hand, and this one guy was oh, you don't remember me, and I did, but my mind was not functioning, so that was kind of funny.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences from the Bahamas, Lou.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Speaking of students from around the world and students in general, here are some wacky, worldly, wonderful words of wisdom for this week. Oh, goodness. Write everything down and review your to-do list regularly. Know your professors and meet with them when you are struggling or need help. Find a mentor on your college or university campus, whether it be another student or a faculty member or staff member. And most importantly, find a balance between schoolwork and social life.
Coming back to the information about this week's featured country, the Bahamas, here are some famous films set in the Bahamas. You Only Live Twice, Thunderball, and Desperate Journey.
Welcome to this Etown Everywhere news brief. In our featured country of the Bahamas, Hurricane Matthew, the most devastating hurricane to hit the Bahamas in living memory, has left untold destruction in its wake. Unlike previous hurricanes, the island's nation's capital of Nassau bore the brunt of the storm's fury, even facing enormous trials. The team of the Godparent Center, Nassau's only pregnancy center, views the future of the Bahamas with hope. The rate of unwed mothers in the Bahamas now has risen to over 70%, and the Godparent Center has stepped up its game by offering abstinence courses as well as informative abortion talks in schools. Okay, everyone, it's time for your favorite part of the show. Drum roll, please. The joke of the week.
Question: how do you fix a pizza? Answer: with tomato paste.
That was hilarious. I can't wait until next week to get another laugh in.
Idioms are a group of words that don't really mean what they say. What they actually say can sometimes seem silly. If you don't know the special meaning of an idiom, you won't understand what someone is trying to say. Here's our idiom of the week: sitting on top of the world, which means feeling extremely happy because of something that you've accomplished.
Thank you for listening to Etown Everywhere, a podcast featuring fun facts and friends from around the world. The show is brought to you by Elizabethtown College's Office of International Student Services. Etown Everywhere was originally conceived jointly by WWEC 88.3 FM, the sound of Elizabethtown, and the Office of International Student Services. If you would like additional information about this week's podcast, please contact the Office of International Student Services at oiss@etown.edu or at 717-361-1594. I'm your co-host Luke, and remember, never stop exploring the world around you. Have a terrific day.